You are now listening to a member of the Disney Podcast family. Head over to Disney Podcast Family on Instagram to see all the latest posts for this show and links to other great Disney podcasts.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome all of our listeners around the world. We are here with UnDIZsputed. We will be talking, is it woking? Disney versus wokeness. Is it Reedy or is it Reedy? Reedy Creek discussion. Disney Dory. Is Disney forgetting how to Dory? Disney. Apologies. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of UnDIZsputed. It's our fun parody to the NFL's UnDIZsputed, where we talk all things Disney, the things everybody wants to say, the things that everybody's thinking to say. But overall, we put it out. We hear your guys' feedback, and we are here today. I am here hanging out with my co-host, Shawn. Shawn, how are you doing?
I am amazing. I'm so excited that we're getting to do this. We had Disney Dependent on a few weeks ago on the show, and they said I could be part of their social club. There's like 2 people in it. So they said I could be part of it. And all I want is a cut. I don't care where I get it. I just want one. So I don't care where I get it. I'm so excited that we have your friends from the Toontown Fight Club. Did I say that right?
That's it.
Yeah. Here with us. I get off on this kind of stuff. So I'm so excited. So Lewis, introduce your friends. Let's get into this thing.
All righty. I'm going to turn it over to Pecos Bill if you want to introduce yourself and let us know a little about yourself.
Yeah, I'm like Lewis said, I'm Pecos Bill. I'm the F&P of TTFC, and founded this thing in 2020, and it's been going ever since. And just happy to be here, fellas.
F&P, founder and president, right?
Correct.
Oh, ding, hell ding, yeah. Ding. Okay, ding, ding, ding. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Okay, Lewis is like, Shawn, I can't be on the show anymore after this week.
Yeah. So we are joined by one other person as well. Kubrick, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Shawn? Lewis, thanks for having me. Real honored to be here. My name's Kubrick. I am the lieutenant of Toontown Fight Club. And I mean, that's pretty much it. That's me. We'll get into a little bit of stuff more later, but just happy to be here with you guys.
Perfect. Lewis, I'm going to hijack.
Appreciate you guys hopping on and talking this with you. Sorry, Shawn, I didn't mean to cut you off. Appreciate you hanging out with us and going to talk these topics. But I know it's itching, Shawn. So if you guys
I'm going to hijack your damn show for a few minutes. I have so many questions. So everyone knows I'm a huge Sons of Anarchy fan. So this whole motorcycle club. I know you're not a motorcycle club, and I totally get that. So Toontown Fight Club. Please tell me you came up with the name because of the fight that was in Toontown a few years ago.
It did spawn from that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a bit of a parody piece on my end.
The most epic fight ever. So how does something like this get started? I've been in the parks. I think I might have actually seen some of you guys in there last time I was there, but I'm not 100% sure. I know Lewis was with us, so I know that, but, how do you get to start? I've seen I think I saw some people there. They had like Elsa on the back of their vest. It was literally, and they're like from Michigan or something. They're just like the Elsa something.
Oh, you're talking about Frozen Few.
Yeah, that's it. I'm like, if this is great. And like, oh yeah, we just do this.
Quick. That's my boy.
Nice. So Pecos Bill, how did you get this started? I mean, what?
Oh God, it's a long story, but I'll do the condensed version. So after the Toontown fight, I'm a designer by trade.
Okay.
I do posters and stuff like that. But when that kicked off, I just saw an opportunity of man, this would be a really, really great parody clothing line. So that's what this started as. It started as a Disney streetwear brand, kind of putting out merch. In my roots are in hardcore and emo and scene stuff. So like really putting out stuff for the alternative kids, kind of along the lines of like companies like Glad Racket and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And just really going for that full like varsity letter, punch you in the mouth with a Disney twist. And in that, I got to meet a couple of very strapping young and not so young gents. And they just shared a lot of similar interests and love, and we had a lot of shared experience from past affiliations and stuff like that, and it just kind of grew to be more than a brand. It grew to be, you know, these people became confidants and really close friends, and you know, through conversation and kind of force, I recruited them into this and said, well, now you guys are the first 5 of the club. So congratulations. Let's start this
First
thing
5.
up.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's the short version.
And then Kubrick, how do you say it?
Kubrick, like Stanley Kubrick.
Okay, perfect. So you're the lieutenant. So what is your role?
So basically what my role is to kind of back up the sergeant a little bit, also kind of being somebody that people in the club can come to if there's a conflict, and then me bring it up to the rest of the council. And we all try to really find a diplomatic way to solve any problem that's in the club, because we all want to get along. We want to be open. We want people to speak what's on their mind. But then also with the openness, there also comes, if somebody's stepping out of line, we also need to have a talk with that person and go, look, what's really going on here, and hopefully come to a civil resolution about it. That came off a lot more darker than I meant it to, but nothing really happens.
This is the coolest thing ever. I could literally waste this whole hour asking you guys questions, and I won't do that for Lewis.
We have a specific need for I mean, an LT and a sergeant. I mean, probably ours work more than most, in the sense that, you know, our club, we don't pull any punches within our club. We have a very, very feisty group of people, probably more so than certain clubs, you know, and less than others. But we definitely have our share of nobody holds their tongue. So, you know, some mediation is great. Not that we don't.
Absolutely. How many people you guys have?
More than one, less than 100.
That's fair. Okay, I like it. Okay, so you all have, so you both have different names, Pecos Bill and Kubrick. What's Lewis's name?
Prospect.
Okay, so I'm and then Lewis, I will go after this. I'm intrigued by the whole prospect thing. You guys obviously have seen Sons of Anarchy, right?
Yeah.
You don't treat your prospects the way that that guy was treated, right?
I mean, he's not getting a deer out of a car, you know, windshield. I don't think he's done that yet as a challenge.
Yeah, we can't really tell. Yeah, we can't really tell you what we put our prospects through, but it's worth it.
Oh my God, I have so many freaking questions.
At this point, I'm still smiling.
He gets put through the ringer in physical challenges and mental challenges and all sorts of things, and at events he's on call like a traditional prospect would. I mean, the essence of what this thing is the 5 guys that started it came from previous affiliations, military backgrounds, all sorts of other different type of upbringing, and our understanding was that those were not lifestyles that were conducive to a good life and a good family life. So what was a way for us to bring the most rigid and specific highest level of brotherhood and commitment to one another, and then add a dash of how can we involve our families? And this is kind of where we settled.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So your families are involved in it as well?
You can't be part of this club if your family's not around.
Otherwise, that is so freaking cool. That's so cool. Well, lots of respect for you guys. Like I said, I can. So just to break this down really quick, you're basically Clay and Jax, Bill, right? That's who you'd be.
I'd like to think I'm not Clay.
Okay, that's fair. And then Kubrick, you would be basically like Bobby, it sounds like.
No, I think I'd be more like a Chibs. I try to look out for my brothers as much as I can. And he's my
he was my favorite, actually.
Oh, Shawn, we're going to get along really well.
I fucking love Chibs. He was the best. Jackie! Okay, I'm sorry. Lewis, do your show. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Oh, man. So just a quick little bit of house rules of how we do the show. We give off a topic. Usually one of us either pleads our case, shares our feels, not necessarily uninterrupted, but we give them a chance to let it all out, what they're feeling. And we'll go around table, and then we'll kind of nitpick on what everyone said. If everyone's in agreement, then cool, we'll move on to the next topic. But if there's some disagreement, we'll share why we're sticking with one side and you are sticking with the other. Right now, for this show, we've never had an issue where it's like, hey, I don't disagree, I'm leaving. We're all friends. We're all hanging out. The thing we want to see is all right. I mean, let's throw that out there. But yes, we've only done one show, and the last one was good. We ended up still being friends. We want to see Disney at its best, at its pinnacle, where it can be. And kind of like what we shared, we are here for our families. We want Disney to be just as involved in our families, whether that's for entertainment, recreational purposes, or the famous word that's going around right now, escapism. And it just gives us a chance to step out of reality and enjoy that and not have to be bombarded by a few of the topics we're touching today. And with that said, talking Disney's Dory. It's a play on Dory from Finding Nemo, Finding Dory. Is Disney forgetting how to Disney? I'm going to turn this over to Pecos Bill. I'll let you take lead. Do you feel that Disney is forgetting how to Disney?
Man, that's such a loaded one. Yeah, in many aspects, I think it's such a multifaceted question in the sense that Disney is forgetting how to Disney in certain aspects. Over the past, I'll say 5 years, specifically the last 3, I think we've really seen a kind of uptick in the financial statute over creative. And that was never what Disney was about. And I know we saw some of that during like the Michael Eisner days after Frank passed, and you saw that the finance became more important than the creative, and that was kind of like the dark ages of the Disney park before they revived it with Iger and all those innovations. But yeah, I'll say lately Disney doesn't know how to Disney for sure.
All right. Send it over to you, Kubrick.
I mean, where do I begin with it? I think right now, yeah, not to be like really blunt about it, but yeah, I think Disney is forgetting how to be Disney. I mean, I feel like profits and, quarterlies and all these numbers are really getting in the way of what I think Disney started off by making Disney. And, Pecos already touched on it. Like, when Eisner came in, there was the Renaissance and the park was going good and they were making all these great movies. And then when Frank Wells passed away, some of that creativity was lost. The most recent time I really think was when it was at its pinnacle was during the COVID-19 pandemic. And, they had just, I think, were starting to either get a new CEO or Bob Chapek had been established as the CEO at this time. And it was just more about what can we do? How can we do it quickly? And how can we make the most money off of it? Because if people are diehard Disney fans, they'll pay to do whatever it is or get whatever it is that Disney's offering. So I'm really hoping that this new direction with Iger right now trying to appoint somebody instead of just rushing in to get it, I really hope whoever steps up really does kind of capture the, as Pecos said, the creativity definitely over the profits.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn.
So I don't know if you guys listen to our show at all or whatever, but when Bob Chapek became CEO, he became CEO literally like 3 weeks before COVID-19 started. I've said from the beginning that Bob Chapek was giving a raw deal by Disney. He was put into Disney at a very bad time. Bob Iger's like, I'm out. You got this. But he really wasn't out. So he stuck around for another year and basically went behind everything Bob Chapek said. And I have learned, and me and Lewis have talked about this a lot, Bob Chapek wasn't a good guy. He didn't do a lot of good things, but he really got dealt a really bad hand. So to answer Lewis's question, yeah, they did lose the sight of what Disney was, but now they're trying to bring it back to this extreme with Bob Iger coming back, being this savior and trying to save. And he says it all the time. Well, I was brought back when the company was failing. Dude, you helped fail it. You helped make it fail because you jumped ship the minute COVID started. And he didn't want to deal with that. He didn't want the end of his reign to be dealing with the pandemic, not knowing how long it was going to be. So a couple of years ago, yes, they lost it. I think they're bringing it back now. I think they're in that right step. I still think it's a shame what happened to Bob Chapek. Did he deserve to go? Absolutely. After hearing some of the other stuff he did, moving money around, moving money from this to that, to Disney Plus, to Disney Channel, not cool. And he's a money guy, like you guys said about Eisner and, So I'm skirting around I'm not really skirting, but I don't think at this point right now, I think the magic is coming back. We're in the middle of the 100 Disney 100 celebration, which I think they're doing a brilliant job with. But keep in mind, most of that was put in place by Bob Chapek when he was in charge just last November. So it's coming back. I was at D23 when Bob Chapek was booed. I was sitting in the freaking auditorium, and I'm like, this is terrible. You're all here with this love of Disney that you're all here paying your $200 for this weekend to boo the guy who's in charge. Not cool in my eyes. I don't care who it is, but he got a raw deal. He wasn't a good guy. It's now I do now see it's a good thing he's gone. But the Disney, he un-Disneyfied it, and I think now it's coming back because Bob Iger knows that. He knows that formula.
I definitely agree. He got a raw deal on it, but in a time when, I mean, you look at companies like Universal who doubled down on their supporters during the pandemic, right after the pandemic, and I feel like that's the least Chapek could have done. Being a money guy, knowing that that's where your income comes from,
right?
Like that's in that definition for me. I mean, and I know both Lewis and Kubrick know that I'm probably the least biggest fan of Bob Paycheck. But that's what got me the most is that, I understand you got to make your buck. I understand that you got to keep it afloat and make the shareholders happy and whatnot. But you got to double down on the people that are going to bring the money back, and everything that they did was completely against, pass holders, which isn't even a thing anymore. That's crazy. I still say that all the time. But that part really, really kind of killed the magic for me personally, because it felt like a personal attack that as the person that was going to the park, given the hard-earned dollars, and for them to be like, yeah, we're good. So raw deal or not, I mean, he kind of earned those boos in my eyes.
Yeah.
You know what? Then I completely agree with you, because when it happened in November, I was on the way home and I got the message from our DisInsider, and it says, Bob Chapek's fired. I'm like, holy crap, that's the worst thing they could have done. Took me, Lewis, a couple months to actually come around the other side and realize that is probably a good thing. Because I had even said when it first started, dude, this guy took over like 2 weeks before Disneyland closed, became the CEO, now has to deal with all that shit. But then again, Bob Iger was still there, like for the next following year, basically. Like, was he like letting him fail and saying, see what he's doing, and he's in the background and comes back as this shining knight, which is exactly what happened. Came back as this knight. I agree with you, Bill, that it was not good in the role. He did not handle a lot of things well. He did not handle Reedy Creek well. He did not handle Florida well. I mean, we're going to talk about that in a second, but I mean, he did not handle that the first time the way he should have. So, but.
Yeah, and the topic of this came from, oddly enough, something completely opposite. This topic came from me, my wife, and the kiddos watching the Magic Happens parade, and I have my issues with that parade where it's a good parade, but I mean, even though it has Disney characters, it doesn't have that Disney aspect. It seems very cut and paste, and a lot of this that we're talking about seems very what Disney's doing. We are just putting what we can on it right now and not taking the effective steps. We are starting to see that with Bob Iger putting those in charge and saying, hey, this is now on you. You are responsible for getting this done. Now, granted, he's cutting the wallet back, which makes it a little bit challenging, but not to quote Eisner, I know he had a rough era on his way out, but he shared something in the Imagineering story, which made a lot of sense. You put a creative person in a small box and you can see what they can do. But I think right now, a lot of Disney
should that cat be doing what's doing, Lewis?
What's that?
Should that cat be doing what's doing behind you? Just making sure.
That cat shouldn't even be in here.
I'm just making sure. There's just not like in your stickers or something right now. So.
No.
Okay.
I'm the only one here at night, so they tend to like hover to the office, and I try to keep him out of here because, side note, to go off the rails a little bit, Ruby Doo is very allergic to cats, and the last time he was here, he swelled up in his face. So I try to keep him out of here, but you can't stop him. Like the doors are wide open. There's actually no doors on my office, so there's no stopping them. So I just give up. But like I was saying, though, Michael Eisner, you put a creative person in a box and you challenge them to be more creative. And I think right now a lot of the creative heads have been used to the big Iger piggy bank of we can build it. And no disrespect to Star Wars Land, but Star Wars Land and Avenger Campus are two lands that we can build it and it's there and they're going to believe it. But then you look at, and I'm going down a rabbit hole with me and Shawn, we've discussed this, but you look at Toontown, shut up there, right there. But you look at it and there's all these little aspects, the water fountain, the little windows where you can see stuff, the candy, the slides, all this stuff that kids can just touch and interact with. But you look at Star Wars Land and Avengers Campus, which was greenlit on Iger's watch, it's just a bunch of eye candy. You can see it all, but don't touch it. And so right now, Disney's not thinking like a child, like where they were before. Hey, we want to think like a kid. Where you go to Disneyland, you're a kid at heart. And right now, you walk into their big key attractions, and it's no, we want to fill your wallet at our heart. And that's the sad part. You look at the Star Wars Cruiser in Florida. Great hotel. There's a lot of great reviews about it. But the amount of people that can actually enjoy that, fully enjoy that, can't do that. And so Disney, I think, is forgetting how to Disney because everything is copy and paste. What can we sell to the consumer and assume they're going to buy it? But then in the long run, it's only a temporary Band-Aid. I mean, there's nothing really happening. My kids now love Disney. Will they love it in 20 years? At today's market, I don't think so. They're not going to be like me where I remember little things like, oh, I remember that. No, they're not going to remember that. Universal Studios Mario Land, they'll remember that because there's so much interactive. There's so much magic in that land. And that's why I think Disney is forgetting how to Disney because the magic and the creativity is not there. We shared this on Extra Magic Hour. How many kids are saying they want to be Imagineers these days? It's not a common thing. When I was younger, I was taught I'll be an Imagineer in junior high school. I knew what that was. I knew who the magic makers were. That's not happening today. So I think Disney is forgetting how to Disney just because that creativity and magic is not there. And right now it's a bit distracted. I'm not going to lie. The Reedy Creek thing is distracting. The cost of everything is distracting. And you're having to cut employees, and that's distracting. So there's a lot of things that are distracting them. But at what point do we take that, understand it's going to happen inevitably, and get back to the magic and get back to building?
I think also tangible storytelling too. I think we're in another phase of Disney's, cinematography, whether it's, Pixar is always, since Disney purchased them, kind of carried them, as far as their storytelling, every time Walt Disney Animation Studios puts out a movie, you never know if it's going to be a hit or a flop. I think that also has a kind of effect on what you were saying, Lewis, with your kids. Like we grew up watching Disney, movies that flopped but had tons of heart that we can sit here as adults and go, that was a bomb-ass movie. That was a great storyteller. I could see this as a ride. You don't get too much of that nowadays. What are the biggest ones that you could probably point at? Maybe like Moana, Encanto, Coco, but that's, what is that, 3 out of how many movies that have come out in the past 10 years that really resonated with audiences? And then they abuse the movies that actually do resonate with the audiences. Look at Frozen. Oh my God, the Frozen fever is finally over. I'm so happy that didn't happen with Frozen 2, where it completely took over markets again, because 10 years of my Disney life was just seeing Frozen everywhere. And it's like, they alienate a certain consumer. And I think that's where it really started to be about the big bucks, when they were like, this story is the story. That's all Disney's going to be about for the next 10 years. Let's see how much we can milk this for. And that kills creativity too, when it comes to the parks. It's like, we're only going to do Frozen. We're only going to do Frozen. How many parades can we have? How many shows can we have? What about all these other IPs you created that have audiences that like them? So
you're totally down for a Matterhorn refurb of Frozen?
Oh my God. Don't even think so.
All of a sudden, 2 cameras just go dark. And then,
yeah.
And you bring up a good point. They're already redoing Moana, live action.
Well, how many live actions have they already done? I'm like, I don't know if I'm just speaking for myself here, but they've done so many live action remakes that it's like, enough, no more. I don't even think they're even remotely as entertaining.
They should have stopped with Pirates.
Yeah.
Lewis knows why I'm making the face I'm making. Don't get me started.
But there, even some of the movies that flopped in the box office. Imagine the ride attraction that they can build with the story of Onward. I mean, I love Indiana Jones, but imagine if you rethemed Indiana to Onward and you have Guinevere, that same type of rugged roller coaster. Indiana, you have the skeleton, you have the blueprint. If we can take Tiana and put her in Splash Mountain, Onward could fit great in Indiana Jones. A lot of the fans would lose their mind about it, but the kids today would, I think generate's the right word for that, they would gravitate. They would gravitate more towards Indiana being Onward, and it would fit in with the mythical land. Indiana's a hit-and-miss ride for some, but Onward's a project that they didn't touch. I mean, there's so many little projects that have come out that, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Luca, but it was a fun movie. There's no representation of Luca in the park. Encanto gets the projection show on Small World. I know nobody likes the IP ideas, but then when you put IP in the parks, all of a sudden everyone's brainwashed. They're like, I love it. They're not touching that stuff right now. They are taking stuff that the adult fans want to see. My kid spends maybe 12 minutes, if that, in Marvel Land, and it's just to see M'Baku. Like, we were in the Spider-Man line, and he was like, can we just, like, leave? Like, no, it's not worth it to me. And so imagine if, like, they did something more kid-oriented. I mean, we go back to Disneyland to wait 45 minutes in Peter Pan. Why? There's a reason that we do that. Not all of us. I don't do it. I don't think that ride is worth 45 minutes. 30 minutes or less, I'm in. 31 minutes or more, I can't do it.
You don't want to wait 45 minutes for a 45-second ride?
No. It's a great ride. It really is. The line, though, is just not.
Right.
But
that's what they're talking about, right? Is the nostalgia versus the actual like principle of it. Is that I think that's what Disney's missing. They're not building a nostalgia base for the current consumer child. They're not setting those boundaries. They're just trying to cash in on all the toys. They're not really building, again, those stories. I mean, we went to Disney as kids to go on rides that were movies when our parents were kids, right? Not movies that were movies when we were kids. When I was a kid, movies that were coming out were Finding Nemo, Treasure Planet, and stuff like that. No rides like that. But then as I got to an adult, all of a sudden Finding Nemo on Broadway popped up in Animal Kingdom. I'm like, oh, this is fun, you know? They don't have that nowadays. They're going straight for the kids immediately, and they're not building the nostalgia. They're not laying the groundwork. I mean, look at the Goofy movie, the resurgence that has had. You know, like now that millennials or adults can spend money, oh, they love Pauly Shore. I would not doubt Son-in-Law 2 is in talks because of how much millennials love Pauly Shore.
It's a great movie, though. Let's be honest. That's come on, rip in the curl. Come on, I feel like I'm older than all of you guys, so I feel like
But it's true. They'll cash in on whatever they think makes money, and they don't have that nostalgia base with kids that are your kids' age right now. You know, and that's the Disney not Disneying.
Yeah.
So just to make sure, we don't want a frozen Matterhorn, right? You guys are both against that?
If you put that to a vote today, it's a strong hell no.
Let's get Bob Gurr on the show. I want to hear
yeah, come on, man.
I mean,
Bob Gurr is better Imagineer than Tony Baxter, right?
Ooh. I would say he was the most innovative for his time.
Well, that's a good PC answer right there, Bill.
So a sidebar on that, we had a debate on our first show of this.
Yeah.
We had a debate on who was the better Imagineer, Tony Baxter or Bob Gurr.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I'll give Bob Gurr the edge on it because he really worked from nothing. There was nothing there. Everything that he created was purely from the mind of no technology, of nothing.
Yeah, it was all practical. Yeah.
Tony Baxter, I mean, fantastic. You know, I can't hold a candle to any of these guys for anything. But the technology and stuff like that. That's like saying like, is Picasso a better artist than someone like Banksy? You know? Yeah, probably technically wise.
All right. Lewis
But
is
yeah.
upset. Oh my God.
Oh, another guest speaker.
Is that another cat or is that the same one?
Yeah, there's two.
Oh God, I'd be
And
sneezing like crazy right now,
they-
man. I'd be
they-
like,
Fine.
Oh, they
shit.
love when I'm on the camera. They just know they're like, he can't do nothing because people are watching. And speaking of change, this kind of like really fades right into our next topic. Is it woking, which is just a play on working, and it's talking about Disney and wokeness. But before we get into that topic, I'm gonna start with Shawn. Go around. What does the word woke actually mean? When you hear it, what do you think it means? Because I was very surprised when I pulled the definition on these show notes, and I was completely mind blowing that this is being a thing that's whether it's good or bad, and I was completely mind blown on it.
I don't know Pecos Bill or Kubrick. I don't know your political affiliation, but I think woke is a word that's created to just piss people off and stir shit up. That's my opinion. It's if you don't agree with everyone else, you're woke. I mean, if I don't follow what Bill says, I'm woke because I want things to be more out there. I mean, you're talking about beer. You're talking about, obviously we're going to talk about Reedy Creek in a little bit, but you're talking about if you don't conform with however the person is conveying this, if I say that's blue and you're saying, well, I don't agree, then, but if so I'm going to change that. So am I woke because I don't agree with you? Or that I want to change it and make it better for everyone else? I don't know. It's a really weird way to explain that. Maybe it's like conform. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. I'm just rambling because none of that made sense. And I've been working all day. I'm sorry, but woke is a stupid word in my opinion. That's my opinion of it. I think it's stupid.
All right.
That's a
Who wants to say
completely
the next one?
yeah.
Oh, you.
I mean, woke. I mean, I've heard so many different definitions of woke.
I'm saying you can't really come up with one.
Yeah, I mean so in the context that I've heard it, I mean, one is basically if you're woke, I think it means, and this is what it means. I'm not saying this is what I think it means, but what it means in the idea that you're more aware of things than other people would be. Like, I don't know, like what's going on culturally, what's going on politically, socially, being woke. And I'm not sure if it has to do with like a young person telling an old person that they need to get woke. Like, I don't even know where the lines go on that, but I know it has a level of awareness to it.
Right.
But even then, like me trying to define it right now as you are.
It's like me, dude. I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to fucking saying. I'm just complaining. I'm rambling on here, and I don't know what I'm talking about. If you don't like that, they put I'll just say, if you don't like that, they put a transgender person on a beer can. If you have a problem with that, you're woke because you're just okay with anything out there.
See, I've heard differently on that though.
Yeah.
I mean, like I've heard woke is going the other way around. Like that's woke would be putting that individual on the beer can.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Like an example that I have right now before we get over to Bill, like what I see Disney trying to be woke about is almost commercializing. Like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have seen like a Pride Disney pin. I wouldn't have seen like a non-binary Disney pin or anything like that somebody can represent who they are fully. And I feel like Disney's trying to get more woke with their audiences in order to say, see, we can connect with you. We understand. We're understanding what's going on today, and we're trying to be a positive force behind that. I mean, that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking of woke and Disney, but that's just an example that
I'm gonna go with his answer. Yeah, because that's what I was trying to say. Because it is. It's exactly what it is. It's and we'll let Bill and Lewis give their then I have a question for all of you and when we're done about this. So go ahead, Bill.
I mean, I was gonna say the same thing. I was just gonna say aware, aware of what. I think it varies according to where you are, what you're doing, what the hell's going on. In retrospect to Disney, I agree with Kubrick that, there's kind of that running joke that every company during Pride Month is gay, right? All the profile pictures change to rainbow flags and stuff like that. And there's an argument to be made whether it's, in support of, in solidarity with, or commercially in support of,
Sure.
Bunny's green no matter who it comes from, and capitalism knows that. So it would behoove companies to be woke. That makes sense to me. From a business standpoint, I guess the question is, are they actually woke by whatever that definition means, and who gets to define when a company is fully woke?
Man, that statement that it behooves companies to be woke, that's freaking solid, man. It's 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100% true.
Yeah.
It's just, I live in Southern Oregon where everyone has their own damn freaking thoughts on everything, and I can tell you that most of them aren't the way I think about most things. And me and Lewis have had this conversation. I'm the kind of person that I don't care what people think. I don't care how they think. I don't care what they do, as long as it doesn't affect me in any way. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I have no problem with gay people. I have no problem with doing things to conform to appeal to a bigger audience. And that's what we're talking about here in that way. I have other people that tell me, "Oh, that's the craziest thing ever. Why would you just support those people?" Why not? Why wouldn't you support anyone? Does it affect me in any way if Disney says that if Disney is having a Pride night? No, it doesn't at all. Is it something like Kubrick said wouldn't do 10 years ago? No. Times have changed. Times are changing. People are more aware, and I think that's the biggest word about this whole thing is aware. Mm-hmm. Now that we've all kind of talked about it, that it's awareness of everything. And why not be aware of everyone and respectful of everyone and their thoughts and their beliefs?
Agree.
No.
So I got two pieces to this. One, I'll share real quick because I know you have a question.
It's shocking that Lewis ever has. I don't know if you guys know Lewis that well. Lewis always has thoughts on everything.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, it's not just for us. Okay, good. Okay, go ahead.
So with this though, I was looking it up. I was doing the research on this, and it was crazy because so many different news outlets, social media outlets, no one ever translated it the same way. There was similarities, but it was never the same way. And that was why I brought this up, because, and it's why it says, is it woking? Because there are things that I think are working for Disney and aren't working on Disney. But before I go there, I know, Shawn, you mentioned you had a question. If you want to shoot that out real quick, because this one's going to be
it's
a
not
little
really
bit longer.
It's not. It's not really a question. Now we kind of discussed it. We all kind of agree that things are being done that are being done for different reasons. The only question I really have to everyone is this a bad thing that this is happening?
Man.
So hold on, don't answer that, because that's going to tie into the topic. So
okay.
There's a lot of things that most recently have come out that everyone is sharing their opinions on Disney going woke. Mm-hmm. Let's talk Little Mermaid, right? Little Mermaid, everyone is upset because Halle Berry is Little Mermaid. She's an African-American descent, and that it's an issue. Okay. I recently saw Peter Pan, and it wasn't good. I think there was a lot of things done intentionally that made the movie sloppy that they didn't need to do. So that's the first pillar that I have, is there are certain stories that have already been shared with a certain style. Okay. When you go back, and when you're going back and changing it, it's a little odd, and you almost have to ask yourself why. Okay. But there are 3 movies that come to mind when you go off an original story. Now, I think Disney, them doing Pride Month, them doing those things, cool. But when they're going back to like change history to fit, hey, and the 3 movies that come to mind, we mentioned Frozen. Frozen is one of the few princess movies that doesn't have a female lead that's falling for a man. She's also a queen. It's one of their top made money movies. Guess why it works? There was no original Frozen for us to compare it to. You look at Encanto. There is all types of personalities in there. The one sister is buff, bulk, can bust boulders, is the strength of the family. There was no Encanto previously, so we have nothing to compare it to. Beautiful story. I think Coco has the lead on it, but Encanto is still really good. The next one, and we're seeing it going in the parks, Tiana. Tiana is not only is an African American princess, queen, whatever you want to call her for her story, but it's a movie that has struck children, adults, grandparents, and it was done in 2D animation. So Disney can do what we want to call wokeness in a style that is still Disney and still translates well to those that want to receive it. But I think where Disney is missing the point is trying to go back and correct what's already been done. Whether it's wrong or right in your eyes, I think they need to just start creating original stories. You don't need to go back and change things. What's been done is done. If we can go back and change things, then Johnny Depp should be back in Pirates. John Lasseter needs to be back. Walt Disney needs to be on Frozen or wherever they want to say. If we can change history, we need to bring all that back. But I think Tiana, Frozen, and Encanto are 3 solid female leads, and you can create stories of female leads and give the female leads, and I only want to say females, trans, children, grandparents, whatever it is, you can create stories that translate well with whoever needs the story to be heard, as long as you put all of the magic and storytelling in it. Don't try to force feed something. Do Pride Month. You go online and find a date that says when Pride pins were first available. You probably could because Google's a genius, but can you find a date that says, Disneyland has Pride pins? No. They just introduced them into the park. They just, here you go. It's the thing is, though, is we're making such a headline on this. It's like, hey, give us a new story. Give us a new ride. Just give us something new. Don't try to go back and change something. If I went to a taco stand and I saw a big white dude like myself, I'm already second guessing the tacos. I just am. It doesn't make sense. But if I tried them and they were good, okay, I liked them. But if I opened up some crazy off-the-wall hot Cheetos in my taco stand, they'd be like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's probably smoking a little. These are going to be good. We assume that. And I think that's where the problem is with these stories is we're going back and changing things. A little bit of a long spiel, but I'm assuming everybody kind of got the gist of why I think it's not working is because we're not giving new stories.
It was 2,000, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah. Did you look on Google?
I did. Thank you, Google. So to ask a question. So, Lewis, you're not okay with Halle Bailey playing them switching the Little Mermaid to an African American? Because that's changing it. I'm not trying to go down.
No, I got you. And I have no problem answering.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to give the movie a shot and see. I don't think Halle Berry is the reason for anybody to be mad about it. She's an actor trying to do what she can. I don't think anybody is really to have a finger be pointed at them. If anything, the only finger that should be pointed is, why are we remaking these Disney animated classics? They're already controversial. Right. You have a 16-year-old that ran away with the dude to get married. They're already the person that said let's greenlight that. That's who we should be mad at. Well, because
the word woke and that kind of stuff, it kind of hinges back on that movie, because a lot of the conversation first started when they announced a couple of years ago that an African American would be playing Ariel. Like, you can't do that. Ariel's white. Mermaids aren't real, for one, so you can't say what they are. So that's kind of when you started hearing a lot about woke, and when they changed, obviously Pirates of the Caribbean, when they changed from the auctioneer to red, kind of stuff like that. That's where you start hearing woke being this more, I think, mainstream word towards Disney. You know what I mean?
I think for me, with that specific scenario, not that I care about recasting or retelling the stories. I agree with Lewis. Why are you retelling the stories? Just make new ones. But what does that specifically do for that community? Giving them a story that is kind of rebought, repurposed. That's not good for anybody. A secondhand story. Why not come up with another story that is specifically written to be in the same tone and experiences that someone from that community might have, that might resonate and build, again, that nostalgic base. IPs like Black Panther, huge, because that's the original story for a community that is finally seen in a way that is fresh and new and theirs. It's theirs. They own that. Same thing with Tiana and Princess and the Frog. It's theirs. They own that. There's shared experience there. The touching childhood stories that fall through with it. I don't think repurposing stories will do anything. I mean, it's not correlated at all in the sense of fantasy. I don't know anybody that is super, super excited about these new live actions getting.
I agree. I completely agree.
Nobody's sitting here raving about the casting.
No.
Are they excited that a celebrity's in it? Sure. But nobody's sitting here going, oh, I'm going to go see it because Halle Bailey's in it. Nobody's sitting there going, oh, this completely changes the story. It doesn't. Right. So my question lies with Disney. What are you trying to get out of this? Are you using the wokeness for that commercial gain? Are you really just pushing that envelope to see how much news churn you can get? Because no publicity is bad publicity type deal. What does this do for the community? And I think that's the awareness that the wokeness brings, like with intention, with purpose, if you're going to do it. Sure. What is this going to do for a Black child that is watching this, And I think in my own personal opinion, and I can't speak on that community's behalf, I think stories that are written genuinely with experience, with intention, like Coco, like Princess and the Frog, like Encanto, speak much larger to communities. I know they do for me. I'm from a mestizo background, indigenous, Hispanic, white. I'm not even Mexican. Coco is fucking awesome. And that's
I love Coco. Coco is probably one of the best movies.
It's all about family. The intricacy of belief and family and lore, and it speaks to storytelling that's related to your childhood. And I think that's why that resonated from my abuelos and abuelas to me, to my younger, cousins who are 5, 6, and 7, all through. Yeah. And I think that's what Disney is missing. That goes back to the Disney thing. Again, they're not creating content for the right reason.
Damn. All right. No, yeah, he kind of hit that on the head. That was.
It's like Lion King. Lion King, they redid that in live action, but what they do, they went back and
one of the worst.
It's not my favorite, but they went back and gave it a lore of like, hey, the way we're speaking, the way tribes work. They went back and wiped the whole slate and then kind of rebuilt it using the same template. Little Mermaid, and honestly, I feel bad for Halle Berry for this film because she's probably going to nail it, and she's probably not going to get the credit she deserves because of this mixed emotions. Yeah. If they would have gave her the role and said, okay, for instance, Sebastian, when Howard Menken did the line, it was a Jamaican singer. Okay, and so if we're going to give Little Mermaid that entire role, let's be as authentic as possible. Having the guy from Pirates 5, it just it's a melting pot of what's going on, and you leave the consumers like and Melissa McCarthy. I mean, you're like, huh? What is happening here? And for me, I think that movie, it could be good. Aladdin, everyone thought was in a bomb.
I'm so afraid of that movie coming out. That's the movie that kicked off everything in the Michael Eisner era. That's not one. That's one you should have never touched, in my opinion. But
slight direction. Oliver and Company came out in '88.
Okay, well, I mean, the first big one that came out, but I mean that kicked everything off. That kicked off Beauty and the Beast and Lion King right after that. So
it was the Disney Renaissance, man.
You don't touch. I don't know. There's just a few you don't touch, and I thought Beauty and the Beast was okay. Emma Watson can't sing, and that's unfortunate. The Lion King one, that the highlight of that was, what's his name? Billy Eichner? Is that his name? Yeah. He was the highlight of that movie. I think the character that played Timon was the Timon and Pumbaa were the highlight of that movie because they were hilarious. But you just don't.
But let's not forget how good they can be if they stick to what they made, the formula that Walt followed and all these people. Look at the Jungle Book. Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book.
That was
phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Right. And that was what kicked off all this live action nonsense.
Absolutely.
Because everyone was like, oh, we can do it. This is great. When you start changing the IPs, that's when it starts getting dicey for no reason, without reason.
Crazy. I completely agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So our last topic, and this will be kind of a quick one. We're all on the West Coast, R.I.P. Westcott. But so
come on.
The topic is it Reedy?
Another failed Tony Baxter project.
You're going to do that. Is it Reedy or is it greedy? Thoughts on, there's not a whole lot to talk about because it's just really, the fires are just getting started, but thoughts on the whole Reedy Creek situation and the DeSantis in Florida. I'll leave this open to whoever wants to start off. I think they're both mad at each other for doing the same thing. There was a miscommunication on the Don't Say Gay bill. I know that's not the original name for it. That was stepped in their lane. DeSantis jumped back in the lane and said, we're going to pull Reedy Creek from you. And it's just now it's a who can piss a little farther. But what are your thoughts on the Reedy Creek situation?
I 100% agree with you. It's nothing more than a pissing match at the expense of people who don't have a say in anything that's going on. One is pissed that the other one took the other side, and now they're just going after each other. And the real people that are going to reap the downfall of this are the fans and people that are subject to the Don't Say Gay bill. That's exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. Those are the people that are going to see the end of that.
Right. Anyone, Kubrick?
Pecos already just hit the nail on the head for that too. So did Lewis. The best thing you really can't sum it up to is just a pissing match. That's all it is. It's like, who's going to stop?
Kind of fun, though. It's kind of fun to watch, though. It's kind of fun to watch a big business just go to town on a dumbass freaking governor who basically says, we're doing this because and he said when they were standing in front of that fire truck, he said, we're basically doing this because they didn't agree with what I had to say. So we're going to come in here, and it just shows you, the biggest thing, and we talked about this on our show there, the biggest thing about this is how much of a freaking genius Walt Disney was himself to come up with this in 1965 or whatever it was, and says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy all this land that no one knows we're buying, and it's the size of Manhattan, the size of San Francisco. No one knows we're doing this. Oh, by the way, we're going to run it ourselves. We'll be in charge of the infrastructure and everything. And because this guy doesn't agree that this guy says this, your pissing match is the best word for that. But that's exactly what it is. But it's hilarious to see some guy stomp his feet and say, we're going to take this away from you. And then 3 days before that actually happened, Disney's like, yeah, you think so? I remember when this happened, when they signed the paperwork, at the thing, and you had Disney employees. I can't believe this. I can't believe I work for a company like this. Thank you, Ron DeSantis. And they're signing their paper with their 47 pens. A month later, 3 days before, Disney already sealed this up, and you can't touch us. That's freaking genius. And Bob Iger, whoever, because everyone's like, why isn't Disney mad? Why isn't Disney saying anything? Why isn't Disney doing anything about this? And the head of Walt Disney World, we'll do what we can to comply and follow along with all their rules, knowing we've already said, fuck you. We already have this in line, and we're going to take this from you until Meghan and Harry's kid, 30 years after she dies. We have this. So for the next 100 years at least, we're in charge still. So then Disney sues the governor, saying we're allowed to have free speech, and you're mad at us for I've been following this thing like crazy, so because I think it's hilarious. Scott Gustin on Twitter, his updates on this thing all the time. But Disney says we're going to sue you because you're flexing your governmental power. So we're going to sue you because we are abiding by the Second Amendment, which is freedom of speech, and you're mad at us for that. They just announced today, Ron DeSantis is now suing Disney for something not being legal. It's the biggest pissing match ever, and this guy's going to run for president.
And he has a good shot, which is even scarier.
And I have an issue with that too. Meanwhile, I want to know why. I want to know why Reedy Creek is so important to Disney. First off, that's what I want to know. What is the really in depth on why we can't lose this?
Money.
Okay, money.
Yeah.
Okay. and so there's that. But not only that, it's at what point does Bob Iger and his team realize, hey, we are taking this fight head on. Meanwhile, the rest of the Disney company is slowly slipping. You have the conversation that Marvel is doing good but isn't doing good. You have the conversation that Star Wars is up in shambles. Pixar, you almost lost Pixar with putting all their movies straight to Disney Plus, even though Lightyear deserved to never be made. But you put all their – it's like at what your parks are – I mean, heck, just yesterday – I know it's not all on him, but he's the lead. He should be, because this is what we got mad at Bob Paycheck for, was that he wasn't being the leader. And we got just yesterday, half the Magic Happens parade stood on Main Street because it was being repaired. We have a dragon that was on fire. At what point does Reedy Creek losing that worth all the money that you're losing right now?
Yeah, taking precedence.
Right now, that's quite a bit. I mean, yeah, you may win Reedy Creek, but in the long run, and I'm not saying DeSantis side, I just want Bob Iger to realize, like, dude, right now you're burning a candlestick at both ends, and you only have a year and a half left. Yeah. So what are we doing?
They can't afford to lose Reedy Creek.
No. If they do get Reedy Creek, it's like, did you get it? Yes. What did it cost?
Everything. Yeah, it's Thanos.
And I mean, yeah, Disney's had a shitty couple of weeks. I mean, Disneyland itself. I mean, you got, dragons catching on fire, internet going down till we can't go into the park. The ducks walking across the parade and stopping the parade last week. I mean, just that's the coolest thing ever, that they just let the ducks do whatever the hell they want at the park, and they just stop everything for that. Which I thought Lewis sent me that video, which I thought was
like
great.
Toontown.
Yeah, but you have so many good things, and a couple of things to touch on there, Lewis. You said that Marvel's it might be in this shambles. I guarantee you, after this weekend, that Marvel will be right back on top. Mario had its little run here for a couple of weeks, but when Guardians comes out this week and destroys the box office, and then in a couple of months when you have more coming out than the Marvels are coming out, Marvel will be fine.
Coming from the cinematic background, Marvel's in a weird trend where it's now popular to say you're over superhero movies. People are moved on to murder mystery, and that'll be a fad for the next 5 years. Things like all the podcast shows that are being created and Only Murders in the Building and stuff like that. That's the new big thing.
That's a hard watch. I'm watching that. I'm trying to watch it. I've watched.
My fiance loves it. I love it too. I think it's cute. I think it's a cool, fresh.
I need to get back into it. Yeah.
But I think Marvel really shot themselves in the foot around phase 3 or 4 when the movies just started churning. They just started going right towards. I mean, I really personally checked out right after the last Avengers, right after Endgame, because that felt like a great bookend. I understand there's plenty more stories to tell, and they were doing pretty good with all the straight to streaming shows like Loki and Captain America and Winter Soldier or whatever it's called. But then the stories are just coming. There's no through line. Nobody can follow it anymore.
There's no breathing. You can't process what Marvel's already pushing out without them going, here's this one, and now you got to look through this one because. Yeah, I agree, Bill. I also checked out after Endgame.
Yeah, do you remember waiting for the summertime? Oh my gosh, Part 2's coming out. Oh my god, the next Captain America is coming out. Here comes Ant-Man, and they're becoming lackluster too. They're trying to make these films funny because they did so well with films like Thor.
The last Thor sucked.
The last Thor sucked. The one before was great.
Yeah, Ragnarok was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they saw Taika Waititi's humor, things like that, like that dry humor. That'll be Marvel's new thing. And that's what DC kind of struggled with for a while and are still struggling with. What's our niche? They were the dark studio. Then they tried to do the funny thing with their Justice League, and it wasn't working for them. And Marvel abused the funny thing. They went through it with Guardians. They went through it with Thor, and the charm wore off. Now it's annoying. It's kind of like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and everything. It's like he's really only playing himself at this point. He gets in everything. You give him a little hat. You give him a satchel. He's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson still.
That's one of Lewis's things he has to. He has to talk shit about The Rock all the time, huh?
I love him. I think he's a great dude.
But
Momoa, same thing.
I like The Rock. I like The Rock and everything but Disney stuff. He can stay the hell out of Disney.
I am not looking forward. I mean, I love The Rock. And Moana's probably, like you talked about original movies and stuff. Moana's a great movie.
I'm scared of the live action.
Oh, me too. I'm scared. Totally scared. I've seen renderings of The Rock as Maui. I'm like, damn, dude, no, please don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, I don't know. I when I started doing these podcasts, I got into Marvel. So I got into Marvel around Captain Marvel time. That's the first movie I actually was like, okay, I need to start following this stuff. And I went back and watched everything else after that. I'm a huge Marvel fan, but I still don't understand any of it. I don't understand the multiverse. I am a complete, absolute simp for Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. So, and everyone knows that she's everything. And I don't know. I love them, but I get what you're saying, Bill. Also about being too much. Now, Deadpool is my absolute favorite Marvel character. So
yeah,
when that movie comes out, I mean, I hope it hasn't worn off enough by that, because Deadpool, it's going to be. I think they're going to try to put so much into it, and I hope it's not like this huge fan service to everyone. Because from what I've read, it's like every character that's been in all of his movies and Deadpool are going to be in this. Mm-hmm. So I hope we see him before, honestly, in something. I would love that to see Deadpool in just like even a post-credit scene or something like that in something before that movie comes out, which would be great. But we're totally getting off topic now. So, but yeah. So yeah, Reedy Creek is cool. Reedy Creek should stay. Walt Disney's a freaking genius and created Reedy Creek, and Disney will win. I'm just saying.
Well,
don't F with the mouse.
That brings us to the end of our show. Dave, thanks, Bill and Kubrick, for joining us. Hope you guys had a great time. Can't wait to hear all the reviews and comments on this episode. It's going to be a great turnout. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. What's that?
You have to find out where
you're muffling out. Nah, you're muffled.
Hello?
There you go.
Tell us where we can find the Toontown Fight Club. I guess we can't, because it's like a private club. So we'll really
find
can't.
You.
Huh?
We'll find you.
I guess we'll leave it at that. All right.
Well, Shawn, as always, thanks for hanging out and co-hosting with me.
Absolutely. Let's get out of here. You guys have a good night. Bill, Kubrick, thank you so much. We need to talk more about this whole thing and stuff like that, and appreciate you guys. Nice to finally meet you guys. Thank you so much. Till next time.